Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today in our Cafecito Power and Power Break. I'm just so excited for our guest today, Ana Valdez, the President and CEO of the Latino Donor Collaborative. Thank you so much for taking the space of sharing your thoughts and being here us and our audience one day before many people take a holiday here in the US. And I'm just so grateful talking about gratitude. So grateful for you to share very, very important information and data and things that we need to take into consideration as we end the year and then as we start the new one. Thank you, Anna, for being with us.
Of course, it's a pleasure and an honor. I'm so excited, Iliana.
Awesome. So, tell us a little bit about you, the work that you've been doing. You've been very, very busy with the new report that has come out, and I've seen it in a lot of different places, people using it and referencing to it. But if you can share a little bit more about it.
Absolutely. So first of all, it's so exciting. I love what you're doing with Latinas, with the United Latinas. It's amazing. It's great to be able to kind of chat via digitally with everybody that is on this chat. And so I was born, raised in Mexico City, and I think that's important because I'm completely bicultural. I came to the United States after doing my master's, and I love it, right? I fell in love with the Latino community in this country. And since I moved here, I've just been working with it. And I've been lucky enough to help people understand who we are, to create the data that shows who we are. And that's what I do at the Latino Donor Collaborative. The Latino Donor Collaborative was founded 12 years ago by the top, well, most of the top Latino leaders in the country. And I'm talking about business and philanthropy more than political. And these Latino leaders realized that we didn't have a positive narrative. And the truth is, we didn't have a narrative. So anybody coming into the space of media could actually just say anything about us, and we wouldn't say anything, and we wouldn't even contradict it. And there was no data showing who we really were. So they got together, they funded this organization. Till today, they fund the organization to create the data that shows exactly who we are economically. And why economically? Because green is the color that everybody likes. And so the most important contribution sometimes in every immigrant community and community in general, not every Latino is an immigrant, comes from how good are you for this country, right? Show me your contributions. Show me how much of your traditions we've adopted. Show me how mainstream you are. And the truth is that after 12 years of doing 36 different reports, we show that Latinos are as American as salsa. And I say salsa because salsa is more consumed than ketchup in this country. So now you can say it's more American than ketchup because salsa is more American than ketchup. So we Latinos are that. We are the new mainstream. We are, we came from being 9% of the population in 1990 to be today almost 20% of the population in 2022. So if we are 20% of the population, we're almost not you could say we're not a minority, to be honest with you. Whites are 59, then Latinos are almost 20, and then you have the African American community being 13, and then on, right? But being 20%, it's an incredible number. And I'm going to not talk about this because I can talk this forever, but just to close my opening, statement, I would say that we are not only 20% of the population, but we have one of the highest upward mobilities, one of the highest generational wealth creation. People come from all kinds of places, but even the people that come from nothing, from immigrants that came here without English and without capital, all the way to people that have been doing, farm working, jobs, or, people in New Mexico, right, who have been here since the 1500s. Everybody, has shown in our community, of course, immigrants and, people that have come here as political refugees, like Cubans and Venezuelans. Everybody has shown that when we come here, we work. and we love this country, and we're incredibly grateful, and we are loyal not only to our families but also to our country, to this new country that has taken us. And so that's what our numbers show, and that's why I love my job, because I basically have a lot of good news to share. Of course, we have, according to the census, 15% of Latinos are live in poverty, and that's horrible. And we all have to be concerned about how to help 15% of our community. But let's not forget about the other 85, right? Because we do tend to forget. And that's the story that we tell in this narrative, that we constantly do based on facts of our reports. So that's my job. That's a little bit of what the LDC does. We're a think tank, we're a nonprofit, and we love what we do.
Thank you for sharing. I took a lot of notes of some powerful phrases that you use in terms of understanding who we are and the power that we have as Latinos. Because some of us, I know that I've been living here for 11 years, and I just realized that I was Latino only 4 years ago. Because you don't recognize, like you, I'm Mexican, and I mean, you're Mexican, but you're not Latino, right? In your brain. But then you come here, and I did not realize who I was and the power that meant, right? So you start to adapt, you start to become somebody that you're not, and with that we lose our voices, we lose sort of what we want to stand for, what we represent. So the fact that you show these numbers, I think it's really important for us to be able to reconnect, right, and re-recognize, oh my god, this is actually who I am, and what do I want to stand for, not only for ourselves, but also for our families and for the generations to come, and shifting that narrative so that we feel proud and we stand proud, right? Versus trying to fit in a way that we don't fit. So I think that's so powerful. And I know that you've done a lot in terms of shifting the narrative, not only through the numbers, but through many other things. If you want to share a little bit more.
Of course. Well, we again we try to communicate this, and we actually are different. So there are a lot of uniqueness about our nonprofit, as I always say. We're First of all, we're a think tank. Second, we don't do much fundraising because our board is really committed to do this. It is I always I kind of I'm so proud of our board and our advisory network, because they do the most selfless jobs, right? Because first of all, they support us with their resources, which is really important to keep this organization going and to create the kind of research that we create, which is like first, class, incredible quality. Our research partners are, Stanford, Columbia University, UCLA, a bunch of fantastic universities. But also on the private sector, our research partners are Boston Consulting Group, Bain Capital, Accenture, Nielsen. So we really, our board is exceptional, in the selflessness of this. Second, we distribute all our information for free. You can go to our website and you can download anything, anytime, which is fabulous. Third, another uniqueness that we have is that we actually work at the highest levels. We're not a grassroots organization. We're actually not even a social justice organization. We are a business argument organization. We go with these numbers to speak to the CEOs and every important resource allocator and say, listen, you have 20% of the population of this country waiting to buy your product or watch your content or be recipient of your grants or whatever, is the resource allocator that we're talking to. And you don't have a strategy for Latinos. And you don't have a strategy for Latinos because you don't know them. Most people are not aware that Latinos are almost 20% of this population. And they're not aware that Latinas specifically are killing in, consumption, in opening new businesses, in buying new houses, in deciding everything in the household, from everything that has to do with the kids to the house that they're going to buy, the car that they're going to buy. And so if you don't know, we tell this to the CEOs, right? If you don't know who Latinos are, you're not making great decisions. How can we say that to them? Because my board is made out of mostly CEOs that are at that level. So we go to them and we do what we say, endearly. We do the CEO IQ test. Because if we as investors, imagine every one of you, imagine if you invest in a company and you keep wanting to know the results. You want to know how that operation is going. You want to know how the revenue is growing, how much you're going to get from that investment. And you find out that the CEO is actually ignoring 20% of the population that can get you money into this revenue. You wouldn't be happy. So that's what we said to you. We say, look, you're in the name of your stakeholders. You need to know who Latinos are. And by doing that, we get them to integrate Latinos at all levels, right? We promote from board members to be Latinos, to C-suite members, to, employees in general, procurement, clients, right? Include them in your advertising. Latinos like to see themselves reflected in your advertising. So at all levels, our job is to tell the CEOs and these resource allocators, you're missing 20% of your potential if you're not including Latinos at all in all of your of your areas. So that's one of probably the most important things that we do with our reports. We use it as leverage to create access for Latinos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say hi to our audience because they're eagerly writing comments on live and just saying how important these numbers are and the work that you're doing in terms of shifting the narrative. And I think it's not only, that CEO conversation. I think we all need to recognize our responsibility, right? And knowing the numbers and using the numbers in whatever environment we are to be able to then ask, to be able to make a statement of, are there enough Latinos in the industry that we are in, or in the company that we're in, or in whatever environment. I think it's important because you're right, numbers are powerful and they don't lie. And we might feel sometimes that we don't have the ability to make those asks, but you provide that information so that then we can use it to be able to make those asks. We don't need to be at the top, right, in the top seats to do that. And I
You're
think that's
so
critically important.
You're so right, Ileana. And actually, you're absolutely right. I mean, at all levels, if you are in those seats, that's great. Please use it. Because I have news for you. When they invited you to be in those seats, they took in account that you are part of that community and they want to know more for it. Most of us, bring that as a plus in our assets, and people want to know about, they want to know what you know. They want you to introduce them to that community. So know that you're not doing anything wrong when you actually bring up those numbers. On the contrary, you're making them a favor and they expect you to do it. And even at all levels. So in specifically with young people, we're right now creating a campaign called Let's Get Loud. Why? Because, as you said, first because we're integrating, but also because we're raised in a way. I don't know about you, but I was raised in Mexico, and in Mexico they actually tell us calladita te ves más bonita, right? So they actually say, don't make waves, look down, do your work, your work will show the results, you don't have to be a revolutionary. Well, guess what? You do. And in this country, in the United States, your voice is extremely important. And sometimes it's almost like you cannot demand your rights if you actually didn't speak out when you actually were able to, right? And I remember one of my most important transitions when I came to this country was going from, let's not say anything, charity has to be quiet, all the things that you're doing and your successes, you shouldn't be bragging about it. And then somebody sitting me down that was not Latino and saying, hey, you got to tell people who you are and what you do and how you do it and your successes, because if not, you'll be invisible. And so in this country you have to, right? And so with this campaign, Let's Get Loud, we want to give all these young people the tools, we want to give them the numbers, and we want them to get loud. And for us, getting loud, and this is for everybody at all levels, whether you're on a board of directors of a top 50 company, or if you are just a student, or if you are a maintenance person, it doesn't matter. There are many ways of having a voice. First of all, using your voice. Our voice is beautiful, by the way. We Latinas have beautiful voices. So we actually have to use our voice, but also write a letter. Also, vote. If you actually have the privilege of being able to vote, that's your voice politically. If you don't vote and you hate the president, shame on you, right? I mean, you are given a voice and we got to use it. And then one of the most important parts of having a voice, I think, is using the power of your purse. If you see products and constantly, you get frustrated because the advertising has, blonde kids and other kids and all kinds of kids except the Latino kid, that's really annoying. Don't buy that product. If you see content that talks about, the future of the United States after a disaster, and they don't have one single Latino actor, don't go to see that movie. Do you know why? Because they are assuming that we didn't survive, right? I mean, it's a joke, but it is true, right? Or we have on our report, we have a study about Law and Order, the show. And Law and Order happens in the United States. It's been on for 20 years. And not until this year, they had a Latino policeman. All the Latinos that they had were victims, criminals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but nobody in the law enforcement area. And I don't know if you know this, but 47% of the law enforcement in New York is Latino, but they never thought about putting a Latino there as an actor. So use the power of your purse when you see advertising that doesn't represent you, when you see shows that don't represent you, when you see an event that talks about the power of women, but they don't have one single woman that is Latina. That's not great. I think that we have to use our voices in any way we can, because as an anecdote, one of the things that we constantly hear is, you guys don't speak out, right? I've never knew these numbers because nobody has written me a letter saying, how come you don't represent me? Write letters. Letters matter so much. Letters to the board, letters to the C-suite, to the CEO. Write letters. And so that's why our campaign is called Let's Get Loud, because it doesn't matter. We don't have to boycott anything. We don't have to create a revolution, but speak out.
I agree. And you talk about something very important about the power of not only our purse, but just in general, the power that we have as a community and coming together to be able to change the narrative, to portray a positive image. We were chatting just before we went live, right? The importance of shifting not only the narrative within us, but the narrative towards everybody else, that Latinos, we're good people. We really are, hard workers. We're not the drug lords. We're not, the killers. We're not there's a lot of good in this community. But that's not what you traditionally see when in everywhere, right? So that's also the power of shifting those narratives so that it's not about minimizing what's happening, but it's about actually sharing all the other wonderful things that we do as a community, right?
Exactly, Ileana. About a week ago, I was talking to a CEO, and he was saying, literally, he was one of the many that said, the thing is, you guys don't speak out. You're so not. Literally, he said, and he was white. So he said, it's funny because you guys don't speak out. I never get a letter. And then he said, you guys are literally, I'm just sharing, okay? You guys are too polite. You guys are too nice. And then he kind of started, I could see that he was thinking, and he said, that's ironical because you guys always portrayed as the thugs and the criminals and the narcos, and nothing could be more different than the reality. You actually, I think, your big sin is that you're too nice. And so we don't have to stop being nice. We just have to speak out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think as Latinas, right? I mean, most of our members obviously are Latinas, but we do have a lot of allies. How can we use our voices? Can we do? We've already talked about, several things, but any call to action that you would say as we go into 2023, what's the one thing that we should definitely do to start shifting this narrative and this change?
Absolutely. I would say get out of our comfort zones, right? We have our friends, we have our groups that include everybody, because, by the way, according to all the reports and all the studies, not only from the Latino Donor Collaborative, from everywhere, we are actually the cohort that mixes the most, friendship wise, marriage wise, kids, exchange, in teams, etc. Like, we really are the cohort that mixes the most. So, but let's get out of our comfort zone. So, to start with, speaking out, I don't know about you, but it was very much out of my comfort zone. I had to really push myself. I actually thought I was always an introvert. I now found out that I'm kind of not an introvert, but I really thought I was. And now I'm like speaking out. Get out of your comfort zone also on the processes that we have. We Latinas have internalized the bad role modeling. We have been in some ways ashamed, right? I mean, of the horrible people that sometimes is portrayed everywhere, not only in shows, but the news, right? They cannot talk about Ileana founding a new fantastic group called, United Latinas. They actually have to talk about, the guy that killed somebody. I mean, it's just it's a choice, but that's their process. And so get out of your comfort zone, out of that internalization of who we are. Find out who you are, act on the data. And then when I say get out of your comfort zone, it's also, let's not use those processes sometimes that make us believe that we can do more by being individual efforts, because the truth is we can do much more as a group. And if the neighbor succeeds, I'm closer to succeeding too. And if we can help each other, we're better because of it, and we'll get there faster. And the thing is, and I'm going to be a little like gender biased, but I do believe that if there's a way to unite the community, it will come from Latinas. I'm not saying Latinos can't. I'm not saying that, but I do know that we care for that. Latinos have, I don't know, and that's my experience. I don't have any study about that, and that's my personal opinion, by the way. But I do know that Latinas want to work together. Latinas want to make a team. They rely on each other. They want to help. And so let's get out of our comfort zone and rely on others. Ask for help. Team up. Unite in talking points. Talk about the same thing and repeat it to everybody. Like, let's work as a team and create this community and this identity and empower this identity that we have so strong with our families and with our communities, around us. But let's build it as the Latino community. And again, as you were saying, Ileana, for example, I'm Mexican, and 60 something percent of Latinos are Mexicans. But I do know that my Cuban friends and my Venezuelan friends and my, Salvadorian friends, they're always told, "Are you Mexican?" Because for some people in this country, we're all Mexican. So we need to work together so that we clarify and illuminate and educate them.
Yes, and I think, I mean, we have 33 different countries that make up Latin America, and each of us have a beautiful things that we share as a culture, but also amazing uniqueness that we bring in each of our countries, and that is sort of that beautiful diversity, right, that we can bring together. And I love what you're saying about, women. Let's join forces, let's continue pushing and driving this change for us, for our families, for our kids and those that come behind us, because the time is now. There definitely is, I think, no other better time than to just stand up, stand proud, and come together as an organization, well, as a community, and in United Latinas as an organization. Thank you so much, Ana, for this break, small cafecito break. We're so thankful and grateful for you to be a part of United Latinas as well, and to support us. We collaborate with each other, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday and see you in 2023 together.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And thanks to all your audience.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody. Happy holidays to those that are enjoying time with those you love this week. See you next week.
Bye, guys.